All right, we're looking at a first car bought for $4,500, 2000 GMC Sierra, 136,000 miles approximately. $4,500 was the cost of this vehicle, and was it a good deal or was it a bad deal? Was it a good buy or a bad buy? Well, let's take a look at what's wrong real quick. I'll jump around and first things first, you know, typical GM, we'll take a look at the rockers. Now, this isn't an end-all. This is pretty common, and if your budget's $4,500 for a truck, finding one in New Jersey with good rockers is like finding a winning lottery ticket. They're out there. There's just not that many of them. Now, let's take a look at the non-starter. And had we look closer at the vehicle, to me, this is a deal breaker right here. It's a walk away from this truck. Let's look at the worst part of the frame. So, right there, I'm showing you can see the original dimensions of the frame, and you can see how much of that bottom rail is really rotted out. Now, this is concerning to me. We'll go over and we'll look at the outside and take a look at this, but this position is directly above the axle where we see the most rot right here. So right down in here is just the thinnest part of the frame, right here. And you come in and you look at the outside. Well, already right where that frame, that thin spot in the frame is, there's a hole from the factory. Then we take a look over here, and these holes that you're looking at right there, those holes are pinholes from rust. Well, that means that the metal all around that area on the inside is just very, very thin. So, you know, should this thing be on the road? And hey, fire away in the comments. No, this thing's got no business being on the road, or that's fine. You can go take this as a pre-runner down in Baja and jump it. It'll be okay. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are I'm not dropping a trailer or filling this bed all the way up in the truck because that's a vulnerable spot. Now, a couple other gems with this truck. You're going to notice that, hey, it's pretty in black. Well, we just descaled it, scraped the rust, did some rust converter and some black primer to try and save what we got. But you're looking at the rear of the leaf spring, and this was a bummer, but this leaf spring is broken right here. And I'll show you the piece. It's been broken for a while, but it's been hanging on there. So you'll see that there's rust. The rust didn't happen overnight. That piece was sitting there like that. And we ground the rivets off, we replaced this bracket, and let me show you what this bracket looked like. Oh, not a lot of material left in that bracket, right? Well, this side's the better side. The reason that we got into these brackets, when the truck came in, the spring is punching a hole in the bed because this shackle is broken right here, right? So the shackle's broken, and the bracket that supports the shackle is also paper thin. So it'd have been great if we put new shackles on. These would have become the weak link and they would have broken. So we're getting the shackles off, we're replacing those supports, and we don't know what we're going to do about the frame. Now, another bummer right here, you're going to notice that all of these braces or cross supports in here all have rust holes in them. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And these are also paper thin in places. Now, no big deal. They just got to hold the frame together side to side. They don't need to be that strong. But this is our problem right here. This upper shock mount, you can see that, ooh, look at that. Not a whole lot left of that tube right there. And underneath, and then if you look at the bracket of this shock, let me get you turned around in here. You see this original thickness, or what was close to original thickness right here, and then this side's just paper thin, and the metal all around here is just, ooh, paper thin. So something's got to be done with this support right here in this bracket. We'll make a video with what we did with that, and you can comment away like, dude, you're crazy, you can't do that. Or, great idea, that's how I'd fix it too. There's a couple more, and believe it or not, this isn't the most dangerous thing about this truck that was sold. And I'll quote the seller of this truck when we called him about this stuff: buyer beware. Seller claims to be a stand-up guy, and that was his response to these problems: buyer beware. All right, we got it up in the air, and we'll take a look at what we would see underneath if we crawled underneath this truck. And there's the rust that we just talked about. So a slide under this truck, and we see that the frame is almost gone here, and then we just walk away and say, yep, let's find another truck. But here's the stuff that I'm talking about. It's dangerous, and don't think that people are going to tell you what's dangerous or that they even know. So what you're looking at right here are 3 lines, and if you look to the left right here, you'll see these flexible rubber hoses. Now those 3 lines are a fuel supply line that goes to an engine, a fuel return line that comes back from the engine, and then a vapor line for the evap system. Well, the middle line has been replaced, and instead of a flexible line, there's a rigid metal line in there, and the line's been joined together with a compression fitting. And I'll try and get the light right, and you'll see that the compression fitting's wet. Well, 2 problems. That dripping right there is gasoline, and the gasoline's dripping not too far from the exhaust pipe. So there's another compression fitting on the same line. Then we go back, and what do we have here? Yes, compression fitting. What? More compression fittings. So they couldn't even make one line. There's multiple lines with compression fittings holding them together, and then take a look at that filter. Now there's a good chance that that sucker's from 2000 when it rolled out of the factory. Who knows? And who wants to be the one that tries to undo those connections? Because I think you're going to break a line when you do. So fuel leaking on the exhaust, always dangerous. You ever see a car burn down on the side of the road? Sometimes it happens just like that. The other reason is an electrical fire. Now we look at the brake lines, which have been replaced. And most recently, and I'll see if I can get you a good view of this one, all the way up top here, the top right line, that sucker's wet. It was just replaced, and if you step real hard on this gas pedal, it'll just, or on the brake pedal, it'll just go to the floor. If you have it running with the vacuum booster on, it'll go to the floor. And my suspect is that line right there. See if you can get some good light on it. That upper right line. Now, we'll start the truck up and see if we can get that sucker to leak. Well, in the process of trying to show you guys the leaking fitting on the hydraulic control unit, I started the vehicle, stepped down real hard on the brakes, and broke another brake line. And this is a common failure point for brake lines. Right where they're going through those plastic grommets, they'll hold a little bit of water, they rust there. And then if there's any kind of movement or rattling back and forth, that'll wear the hole in it. So this front line that runs all the way across the front of the truck to the right front wheel got a hold just when I was applying the brakes,